Thank you everyone for being here today for the Community Advisory Committee organizational meeting. First, we're going to start off with a call to order and establishment of quorum. Upon the receipt of a completed application in response to the request for applications issued pursuant to New York Racing Pari Mutual Wagering and Breeding Law, Title 2A, the Commission will establish a Community Advisory Committee for each application received based upon the physical location of the proposed gaming facility. Accordingly, having received a completed application for a project at Coney Island, the Commission has established a Community Advisory Committee for the applicant, the Coney. By statute, such Community Advisory Committee is to consist of appointees made by the Governor, the New York City Mayor, the State Senator, the State Assembly member who represents the district where the proposed facility is to be located, the Borough President where the facility is proposed to be located, the City Council member representing the district where the facility is proposed to be located. Members of the Community Advisory Committee have been appointed by Governor Kathy Hochul, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, New York State Senator Jessica Scarcella Spanton. Did I say that right? Awesome. New York State Assembly member Alec Brooke Krasny, Borough President Antonio Reynoso, right? And New York City Council member Justin Brennan. Welcome. All right, so pursuant to New York General Construction Law 41, a quorum shall be established by the presence of 4 members. Today, we were lucky to have everyone in the house. So I will now call roll call of the appointed members. Portia Henry, appointed by Governor Kathy Hochul. Here. Alex Summer, appointed by the New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Here. Jessica Scarcella Spanton, appointed by New York State Senator.
Making you say it twice.
I'm going to say it twice. It's okay. It's a great name, right? Marissa Solomon, appointed by New York State Assembly member Brooke Krasny. Here. Spencer Williams, appointed by Borough President Reynoso. Here. And Justin Brannon, appointed by New York City Council member. Here. Thank you so much. The presence of a quorum of qualified members is present, therefore we can complete the transaction of business today. Materials today that will be discussed have been provided to all members, including the following. Resolution 2501 regarding public access to Community Advisory Committee meetings, along with the proposed rule text. Resolution 2502 regarding administration of the Freedom Information Law by a Community Advisory Committee, along with proposed rule text. A copy of a brief introduction and task overview presentation. Proposed template scheduling along with a template form to request changes to an application and conduct a final vote, as well as a copy of Racing Law Section 1321D, which details community advisory committees. And again, just a reminder, please remember that this is an organizational meeting and there is no public comment allowed today. So to begin with, our first order of business is a consideration of resolution, appointment of Community Advisory Committee Chair. So per New York Racing Pari Mutual Wagering and Breeding Law 1321 D3E7, each Community Advisory Committee at its first meeting shall elect a chair by majority vote. So at this time, I'd like to open nominations for someone to serve as the chair of the Community Advisory Committee.
I move to nominate the Borough President.
Move to nominate myself for chair.
I second the council member.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay. All in favor for the council member?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Welcome to running the board. So today I'll run the meeting for you if that works for you, and then we can talk offline about the next steps. Perfect. So congratulations. So let's talk a little bit about who I am, what we're here for, and what we're going to do today. So for me, my name is Andrea Fairhurst, and I'm a project manager with NICETech. We're the entity that was selected following a public bid to serve as a Community Advisory Committee consultant from the New York State Gaming Commission. NICETech was founded over a quarter century ago. It's a non-for-profit consulting company with more than 350 full-time employees. And we are a non-for-profit that are located throughout New York State, including New York City. We have an extensive experience in task force and steering committee coordination, stakeholder engagement, meeting facilitation, and adherence to the New York Open Meetings Law, and a large-scale event planning, which we'll get into, right? So we're going to start by just advising each Community Advisory Committee member that you've been provided a copy of a completed application that was submitted by the applicant, right? And if anybody needs any access, has everybody accessed the redacted and non-redacted information? Awesome. But if you need any extra help with that, please let us Also, as a reminder to the committee members, the application material may contain some personally identifiable information and trade secrets, which if disclosed, would cause substantial injury to the competitive position of this submitted entity. So for each community advisory committee should exercise care to prevent inappropriate or unauthorized disclosure of this information. If anybody has any questions about that, who you can talk to about what, please feel free to reach out and ask that question. And I also want to note that all those information is the redacted application information is available on the gaming website. So if anybody needs that link, let us know. All right, so best practice resolutions consideration. So get this work done. It's my understanding that the New York State Committee on Open Government has created 2 documents to best guide practices to govern for public access to meetings and handling freedom of information requests. Before us are best practice documents adapted from the Open Meetings Model Rules for public bodies and the Freedom of Information Law Model Rules for agencies. All members of this Community Advisory Committee have been provided draft documents in advance. We did provide you a hard copy as well. I believe the New York State Committee on Open Government documents is clear and straightforward and should be considered as circulated. And taking them individually, we'll start to get a motion on the Open Meetings Law. So can I get a motion to adopt Open Meetings Law Model Rules for public bodies as adapted for the Coney Community Advisory Committee? Wait a second.
Second.
Thank you so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. Next up, Freedom of Information Law. Can I get a motion to adopt Freedom of Information Law Model Rules for agencies as adapted for the Coney Community Advisory Committee?
Motion made.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Next order of business is consideration of schedule and timeline. So that's our final matter to talk about in the organizational meeting, is to talk about dates, durations, and locations for public hearings, which we're going to talk about offline when we complete this meeting. But I wanted to remind everybody that each community advisory committee is required by New York Racing, Pari-Mutual Wagering, and Breeding Law to conduct no less than 2 public hearings. And I expect that these events will allow the members of public the opportunity to speak at those proposed meetings. So, but we'll talk about that later. So now I have a wonderfully quick slideshow for you. And when I say quick, I'm lying, but we'll get through it. We're up. So again, thank you for being here. This presentation is intended to provide a broad overview of how you all ended up here and what we're required to do over the next few months. Copies have been provided to the committee members, and we will post the presentation online after today's meeting. So everything will be available to it. All right, so a little bit about the Gaming Facility Location Board, give you a little bit of a background. The New York State Constitution was amended in 2012 to allow up to 7 commercial casinos in New York State, and 4 of the 7 casinos were established in upstate in 2014, 2015, following a competitive process very similar to what you're into now. In 2022, the legislature established the citing process for up to 3 more casino licenses, specifically creating a Gaming Facility Location Board to issue a request for applications, evaluate those applications, and select up to 3 projects for commission licensure. The board issued requests for applications in 2023 and currently has 4 members. So Vicki Bean as chair, along with Terrell Brown, Marion Phillips III, and Greg Ramers, there is 1 vacancy on that board this time. So the Community Advisory Committee statute, the law requires the creation of a project-specific Community Advisory Committee to determine whether the applicant should advance to the Gaming Facility Location Board for consideration. Each committee is made up of the appointees, such as yourself, of the elected officials representing the physical location of the proposed project or the actual elected officials. How did you end up here, right? So June 27th, 8 applications were received, and therefore 8 Community Advisory Committees have been formed. So you can see the list of the applicants there. Why are you here? So you've been appointed by your appointing authority to serve on the Community Advisory Committee for the Coney, located in Coney Island. This is shows out where all the other applicants are located as well. So. So you have received all your application materials, both redacted and unredacted, and the applicant is here today, which they will give you a presentation later in the meeting. All right. So here we are with the overall citing process. So each committee has until September 30th to make its decision. Those applications that were approved by the committee will then be evaluated by the board via statutory criteria. And then the board will expect to announce its elections by December 1st, followed by the commission license considered by the end of the year. Obligation and deadline. So again, like we just talked about, September 30th is your deadline. You can make the vote prior to that. It doesn't have to be on the 30th. So you're welcome to make that decision prior to that, but that is the deadline. And should you not meet that deadline, it is deemed a rejection. So that's also important too. So, all right. What is your duties? What are you here for, right? So you've already checked one off your list. So you've appointed a chair. Welcome, Justin, right? You've reviewed the applications, or you'll have more time to review those applications as well. Attend the hearings and meetings to your best of your ability. And then also to review all public comments and vote in a public meeting before September 30th, whether the project should be advanced to the gaming facility location board. Collectively, each committee must operate in accordance with New York State's open meetings law, hold at least 2 public hearings, and review the public comments, which we talked about. So one of the most important things to say today is in order for an application to advance to the gaming location board, it would need to have 4 committee members vote in the affirmative. So we need 4 to approve in order to move the application forward. Any questions so far? Pretty straightforward. Right. Awesome. Application changes. So a committee may solicit changes to the bidder's application. However, there are substantial limitations for the changes to be considered by the board. In discussion with the committee, a bidder may make a promise, commitment, or obligation, but to be considered must be reduced in writing and filed by the deadline. All promises, commitments, or obligations must be definitive, meaning not incumbent or future state or local discretionary action, and unconditionally inability of the bidder to perform. The committee may request a bidder change or modify their application. For such consideration, it must be reduced to writing and filed by the deadline. It's important when we talk about changes to the application that you understand we have a short period of time, so September 30th. So you need to be taking into consideration the complexity of the request, right? And kind of is it actually doable for the applicant to make the change or do what you needed to do? But you are in control as a CAC to set the timeline in which you request that information from the applicant. So if you are requesting a change, you set when it is due. Any questions on that? All right, to advance an application, like we said, all materials upon which an affirmative decision is based is required to be delivered to the board, which you've received, which members of the CAC concurring in the positive determination signing the title page of such material. And again, you must have 4 affirmative member votes. The next slide is going to look really familiar. In order to move this project, you would need a 2/3 affirmative vote. So 4 votes is required for the application to be advanced for consideration by the gaming facility location board. All right, so the schedule, obviously, this was a suggested schedule, so obviously it's probably not going to meet the public hearing 1, but kind of a proposed schedule. The idea is how can we get this done in the time that we have? So this is the recommendation, but the most important, obviously, is we've got our first organizational meeting done today, which is wonderful, and then we will work in the next week or 2 to get the next 2 public hearings scheduled. With a location and get that out to the public sooner than later, which is most important, right? Let them know where it'll be and when it'll be and make up appropriate accommodations for them. So any questions with that? All right. So we've provided an email box for everybody to send any of their public comments, which we are logging currently, and that will be distributed to community members on a weekly basis. So I don't know if Monday or Friday, we'll decide among the committee when it works best for you. But all those comments are being logged currently and will be available PDF and filed. So you'll have access to all of that. We've also allowed a mail-in option. So for those that don't have access to a computer, they can mail it into our NICETech office. And the address is located here, CAC Consultant Team, 540 Broadway, 3rd floor, Albany, New York, 12207. So there's no deadline to receive these comments, but up until September 30th, they will be received and forwarded to you. Any questions on that? But it is important for the public to be aware, though, that if they want to submit a public comment, to do it sooner than later, right? So that way, as the committee makes their decision, they have all the information they need. So Send in those emails. We're ready. Redacted information. We talked about that. Open meetings law and logistics. So my colleagues and I are providing logistical assistance to the committee, including securing meeting locations, necessary technology, materials, and support. It is required by state law that all committee meetings and hearings will be open to the public and media, accessible, webcasted, and recorded. So we will do that for all meetings, and be prepared. We have an amazing AV team here to follow us along. So that's awesome, right? All right, event locations. Committee members are encouraged to recommend appropriate meeting spaces, including those that are conducive to hosting public meetings and venues available by their appointing authorities. We've talked about this through email, and we'll talk about it further after. It is helpful for us if you have a suggestion, if you can provide a contact name and number. Some of them are, like for one, with trying to get into public schools, they're not open, so getting a hold of people has been a challenge. So if you have any recommendations to provide a contact, would be extremely helpful.
Is there a budget for a rental?
They're reasonable accommodations. So yeah, that's something we can talk about. But there's a budget, for sure. Awesome. All right, so proposed community advisory committee events. The meetings, which is what we're doing now, a public organizational meeting to elect a chair, discuss scheduling, and receive a presentation from the applicant, and conduct any other initial business as necessary. We're also going to do some public hearings. So the committee must hold at least 2 public hearings to receive comments from the community, and the hearing should be scheduled for convenient times at appropriate durations and at locations of adequate size and scope. So we'll be looking at like 150 person kind of spaces, just to put that in head for me. And then also the final meeting vote will be before September 30th. So that's important to say. And then we've got, language access. So I think, Joyce, you've probably already reached out to see if you had any recommendations for materials. So are any of our public meeting notices, what language would you like them to be in? Because we can obviously have them available online, but also printed at the meeting locations in different languages.
Yeah. Certainly Spanish, Chinese, and Russian.
Yeah.
This area.
Great. Joyce is on that. And then also American Sign Language. So members of the public will be able to request induction loop devices as needed. The only thing we ask is if there's a need from the language, just to kind of give us a heads up prior to the meeting so we can make the proper accommodations for whoever need that. But yeah, so that's something we'll talk about as a committee moving forward. Any questions? Doing okay? We're cruising right along. We're almost done. So communication with the project representative. So it's a reminder to be mindful of public officers' law obligations and refrain from contact with the applicant or anyone on their behalf. So as I said before, if you have any questions that you'd like answered from the applicant, please feel free to send them to us. And then we will, when you do that, just make sure you CC the rest of the members so that everyone knows what questions are being asked, kind of for transparency purposes. And we'll get the answer from the applicant and bring it back to you. So there is an opportunity for that communication to happen through us. All right? Any questions on that? Perfect. Ethics. So accordingly, committee members should avail themselves of all applicable ethics laws, rules, and guidelines. There was an email sent out. Did everybody get that email this morning, I believe, from the Gaming Commission? But there's also, we'll provide on this slide plenty of resources for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. So these are some of the applicable statutes relating to the Community Advisory Committee service as a whole. And again, on the gaming facility locations board website, there's other resources in there as well. Last but not least, this is us. So this is our contacts, our phone number, our mailing address, and Noreen, she is here. She's our head project manager for the project. So you can always reach out to her. Otherwise, Joyce and I will be your point of contact for this project. And so feel free to reach out with any questions. We're available, whoever. Well, you have Joyce's cell phone, but soon you'll have mine as well. So call, text, email, anything that works. And Phil, I'm done here, but let me just. All right, so at this time, I'm done talking. Somebody else's turn. I'd like the Coney presenters to provide a content overview of their project. So just for everyone in attendance today, the purpose of this overview is to provide the community advisory committee members with a high-level explanation of the proposed project. I don't expect this to be interactive, and certainly no questions from the public will be entertained at this time. And as a reminder, committee members, again, we'll talk about it. This is confidential information, so be careful what is shared. And please save your comments and questions for after the presentation. Let them get through it, and then we'll allow some time for question and answers. All right. Tag, you're it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to the committee for having us today. We really appreciate it. My name is Melissa Gliata. I'm from Thor Equities, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to our team. To my right, I have Peter McEnany, who's my partner at Thor. And I have to my left, Paul Pippin from Chickasaw Nation. We have, I'm kind of like, everybody's gonna lose, Sam Garrity from Saratoga, Bill Rhoda from the Legends. We have Sarah Davis from FX, and we have Robert Cornegie, former council member and former chair of small business with us today, as well as COVID Saxena. Oh, sorry, from T.Y. Lynn and Jody Stein of Shepherd's Mullins. There you are, perfect. We're gonna start our presentation today with a video. And first I wanna underline a theme that you're going to hear over and over today, and that is, it just makes sense. This has become our slogan because as we've reached out to the community and talked about our project over and over, the overwhelming response from people about having this type of entertainment complex and year-round opportunity in Coney Island has been, it just makes sense. So I hope you'll enjoy the video.
Some would say that Coney Island's a relic of a bygone era, a place that used to bring together New Yorkers of all walks of life to forget their worries and relish in the moment. Coney Island is ready for renewal, ready to bring back the wonder that once was. Some would say that Coney Island's a relic of a bygone era, a place that used to bring together New Yorkers of all walks of life to forget their worries and relish in the moment. Coney Island is ready for renewal, ready to bring back the wonder that once was.
A joint venture between Thor Equity
Some would say that Coney Island's a relic of a bygone era, a place that used to bring together New Yorkers of all walks of life to forget their worries and relish in the moment. Coney Island is ready for renewal, ready to bring back the wonder that once was.
a joint venture between Thor Equities, who owns the land and makes us shovel-ready, Saratoga Casino Holdings, who own and operate right here in New York State, and the Chickasaw Nation, holder of some of the best-run and largest casinos in the world. The Coney will be ready on day one to serve Brooklyn, New York, and visitors alike.
The gaming experience here at Saratoga, we focus on a number of different things. First of all, we want to provide a safe environment for our guests, and we take great pride in that.
I think that's one of our biggest strengths, is that obviously we're a business, but it's not just about bottom line.
Not only do we have a great relationship, during contract negotiations a few years ago, we were able to bring our Teamster members here at the casino into the Teamsters Health and Hospitalization Plan.
All I can say is good things about the Saratoga Casino Hotel and the people that are here working at this establishment. They're a top-notch professional organization which does their best to serve their customers as well as to give back to the community.
The Chickasaw Nation is ready to bring its gaming expertise to the entertainment capital of the world. New York City's ready for a world-class casino. There's no better place than Coney Island.
Global Gaming Solutions is the commercial arm of the Chickasaw Nation, so it's about how can we go out and grow the business in a commercial space outside of Oklahoma.
It's grown from a small bingo tent in the middle of a field to this largest casino in the world.
Our hiring practice is to be the most diverse there is out there so that we can continue to be top-notch.
We retain staff by treating people like family.
As a community partner, Chickasaw Nation has been one that has been open and honest. They've also been one that has been consistent.
And really now for 10, 20 years, we've been really strong partners, and I feel like they've adopted us, and we welcome that. We welcome their philanthropy. We welcome the business partnerships that we've created.
One of the things we've taken great care to do is to make sure this building doesn't overwhelm. Very important to us to give back and to increase the amount of public space here. Stillwell is really transformed from a street to a public plaza.
What's unique about this project is that we've taken such a deep dive into both the existing context and the rich history of Coney Island. We've integrated some of the great themes that developed over time in Coney, things like adapting the structural relationship of the roller coasters to the building skin, creating properly scaled pedestrian streetscapes and storefronts.
The Coney will anchor the property at Coney Island, but this project is also about so much more. Surrounded by a sprawling entertainment district, bolstered by the infrastructure that's already in place to support this project, right on the Atlantic Ocean. Restaurants, live entertainment venues, a beachfront hotel and spa, a convention space that'll bring visitors from around the world, and a mechanism to revive the already present amusements. The Coney will live in the fabric of New York's motto, Excelsior, ever upward.
You know, I personally walked the beach. You really see the true potential of what can happen with the right kind of investment at that location.
What I would like to see in Coney Island is the rebirth of what I saw when I was a child. My uncle lived in New York City, and when we were little, he would take me to Coney Island to see the cyclone and the other features that were there.
I'd like to have a place that I could feel safe to go, spend overnight if I wanted to stay here, and get great entertainment, some sort of rides or something, part of this whole complex. But a complex like I had as a kid, like Steeplechase Park.
This is about community, and the only way you're going to really be able to help a community if you understand that community.
It would really tie these two entities that have begun to bring us back in Cyclone Stadium and in the aquarium, which are family-friendly event spaces that people get to enjoy.
Offer the future for the kids, offer jobs, offer progress. Everybody knows this is a tough economy, and this place is ideal.
A casino, hotel, and shopping and other attractions added to Coney Island would make Coney Island year-round. All those hotel jobs, all those construction jobs would be union jobs. They pay extremely well.
Well, I think it would be a good idea for them to bring it, out here because, more job opportunities for, people that live out here.
We need jobs. This is going to help. A lot of people are still jobless. The casino has come to the table saying that they're going to supply jobs for the local people.
Very aware of the safety issues in New York City. And this new project, would make this Coney Island a safe place to be.
It's good for us because it's a beautiful place. People will go to play. It's good for economy. It's good for us.
The idea that we're going to be able to set up businesses, mom and pop shops that have characteristically struggled in this time, to be able to give them an opportunity to be part of a project.
I've always been like the field of dreams. You build it, they'll come, but you have to build it. I'm trying to push a new word around for Coney Island. They always call it last stop. I'm saying it's the first stop. Things start here.
In Brooklyn, it's nothing but love. You bring a casino here, it brings revenue, jobs,
a lot more happy folks, better vacation space and time, things that we need.
Coney Island has been left behind, and we're ready. We're ready for a comeback.
Coney Island's ready. We're ready. Coney Island. It just makes sense.
Coney Island, it just makes sense.
Coney Island es una de las mejores opciones.
Coney Island. It just makes sense.
Coney Island — это прекрасное место, куда все могут приходить и наслаждаться.
Coney Island just makes sense. It does make sense.
Coney Island just makes sense.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again for taking time today to give us the opportunity to talk to you about this project. My name is Paul Pippin. I'm the Undersecretary of Operations for the Chickasaw Nation. I wanted to take a second and talk to you about Global Gaming Solutions and to kind of explain who they are. So GGS is our commercial gaming arm of the Chickasaw Nation, who is one of the most respected and forward-looking tribal nations in the United States. And since 2008, Global Gaming Solutions has developed, financed, marketed, and operated gaming, entertainment venues, and racing venues throughout Oklahoma. We've financed 3 different projects recently: Remington Park Casino in Oklahoma City, Lone Star Park in Dallas, Texas area, and Golden Mesa Casino in Guyman, where we have partnered with the Shawnee tribe to build that. We're recently going through an expansion in that project to build out the casino floor more, build onto a hotel tower. We also built and operate the WinStar Hotel, which is the largest casino in the world. And just a little bit more about the Chickasaw Nation's broader business portfolio, which spans roughly 200 holdings across manufacturing, healthcare, energy, media, tourism, and hospitality. And this economic engine has fueled an annual impact of $5.5 billion in Oklahoma alone, supporting over 34,000 jobs and $1.8 billion in wages and benefits. So under the leadership of Governor Bill Anatubby, who is our leader at the Chickasaw Nation, we've made transformational investments to infrastructure, to healthcare, to education, and maintaining a steadfast commitment to community stewardship. So at GGS, we don't just build casinos, we build economies, and we build it for and with the people in those communities. I'd like to pass it on to my partner, Sam Garvey at Saratoga.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here today. This is something that we're all very passionate about, and we really appreciate your time. Just to familiarize you with Saratoga Casino Hotel, it is a family-owned business. We have over 80 years of experience in operating racetracks and casinos in the state of New York. Since our inception as the first racino, we've been very fortunate to have had a very good relationship with the New York State Gaming Commission. And because of that, we know what it takes to hire employees and get them licensed in the state. Additionally, Saratoga has decades of experience and has established wonderful relationship with both the trade unions, the construction phase of things, and also the hospitality unions in the operational side of the casino. Thank you.
Thank you. And for Thor Equities, we're a New York City-based developer with $20 billion in global real estate portfolio. We've delivered projects such as 837 Washington in the Meatpacking District, 800 West Fulton Street in Chicago, and Amazon's Red Hook facility here in Brooklyn, as well as we've always been a long-term stakeholder in Coney Island. We have completed $3.6 million worth of ground-up development. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Bill Rhoda, Senior Executive Vice President of Business Development for Legends. We're a premium live events company, really focused on hospitality and event operations. This last year, we acquired a company called ASM Global. We operate over 300 buildings of all types: stadiums, arenas, convention centers, theaters, ballparks, tracks, around the country. We have in excess of 100 food and beverage hospitality contracts as well. Headquartered in New York City, we have about 4,000 employees locally in the marketplace. Some of our operations in New York City include Yankee Stadium. We invested $90 million in OWO, One World Observatory. We run and operate the observation deck at the very top. We build out and operate the MLB merchandise store on behalf of Major League Baseball. The Boathouse, Circle Line Cruises. With ASM that we acquired last year, we operate the Barclays Center and Nassau Coliseum from an event perspective, as well as the East Rutherford Convention Center. Obviously, with all of that, we have deep connections and ties to the hospitality industry in the city, as well as the entertainment and event content. We also have a relationship with the Chickasaw WinStar with hospitality up there as well. Appreciate your time today.
In addition to the team you see sitting here, we've spent the last 3 years building a deep bench of consultants and architects and engineers that work on this project, all with extensive experience in New York, and a lot of them extensive experience in Brooklyn. So the team we put together really understands the history of Coney Island and what it means to everybody that lives there and works there and goes there to play. And the goal is to create a project that fits in with the entertainment district. So going forward, we just wanted to first kind of just start talking about the community, because the community matters, right? And that's why we're all here today, to have a dialogue and have a conversation about what the community needs. And through our 3-year process of meeting with local stakeholders, small businesses, we heard 3 resounding things. 1, create a year-round destination, right? Coney Island's amazing. It's 3 months a year today. Number 2, security, and how do you solve public safety concerns? And 3, how do you create jobs and meaningful jobs and careers for the people of Coney Island? Coney Island today has a 17% unemployment rate, 17%, right? That is 4 times the national average. And how do you solve that, right? And the way to solve that is to create a mixed use project, right? This is not just a casino in a box. It's a mixed use entertainment project that fits in with the framework of Coney Island and provides 10,000 jobs between the construction and permanent careers that will be created. So how do you start to put a dent in that number? I think that's a great way to start.
So when you talk about why Coney Island, there's a lot of noise around these casino proposals going on right now. And I think there's 3 facts that you really can't debate from this standpoint. So number 1 is, like my colleague Peter mentioned, almost 20% unemployment, which is 4 times the national average. And we're looking with this project to bring nearly 9,000 union jobs with a firm commitment for local hiring and career building opportunities. The other piece of that is the rich history that you saw in the video and talking about the people's playground. That's still a very nostalgic slogan that goes along with Coney Island. And I think it's important to note that we're not just looking to place a Las Vegas style casino in the middle of the boardwalk at Coney Island. This project is so much more than just a casino, but we're trying to envelop it within the history and the rich background that Coney brings to make it like a rebirth for this beloved landmark. And then the third piece of that is the $200 million trust that we've been talking about. So that trust would be governed by neighborhood leaders. It would be for workforce training or career pipelines, affordable housing upgrades, and public space and shoreline resilience projects. So the trust ensures that Coney Island doesn't just host the resort, but it grows with it forever.
So I think what we've heard a lot about is, when the project is built and all the things. I think I just want to take a second to focus on what's been happening immediately. 3 years ago, work went into the community. What we heard when we first got there, and we listened, was what the needs were immediately. Not the needs when the project is built, but what the needs were immediately. And one of the most overwhelming need was for the young people to have activities to participate in, to help improve the quality of life of not the young people alone, but the Mecca did that opportunity through sports. And we did that over 3 years. Hundreds of young people attended clinics and tournaments, not only basketball, but for females volleyball too. I was proud to have my two daughters actually run clinics. One who played at Columbia and one who's currently playing at the University of Virginia come out and volunteer their time to work with young girls and young women to teach them about sports and what it could do to improve the quality of their life. So the RFA that we're talking about today was built over 3 years of listening, showing up, and engaging in communities. The responses here this afternoon are informed by over 500 stakeholder meetings, more than 10,000 local signatures. And I just want to focus on the stakeholder meetings because when we first started out, those meetings were in large scale venues, and it was difficult to really gauge or get a message out that really was significant. So we pivoted and shifted and started doing smaller vignettes, but still 500, stakeholder meetings, over 10,000 local signatures. I say local because it's important. In the political world, we call that on the door. But basically going to people where they live and getting them to understand the project and get them to sign. And over 600 NYCHA letters. For all intents and purposes, this is a community-backed proposal. I believe it's a community-backed proposal. We've been in the community now over 3 years, and that's a long time. But more importantly, we've been present to the needs of the community. So I really want to say that, yes, this is going to be a great project when it's built, but a lot of work has gone in up front to meet the needs of what the community demanded when we first got there.
Instead of just stating in words that we have a commitment for the community, I really want to focus on talking about what we have done in our long, rich history, especially with the Chickasaw Nation. We have over 40 years of demonstrated commitment to public good and community development. So I just want to highlight some of the things that we've done over the years to give back to the community. We've given over $32 million in scholarships to almost 6,000 students, 500 miles of broadband expansion in underserved rural areas, 42 miles of road construction, improving local infrastructure, $14 million to complete the First Americans Museum in Oklahoma City. Most recently, we've developed a $400 million O'Connor Resort and indoor water park to complement the museum and boost tourism and economic development in Oklahoma City. We operate hospitals, wellness centers, pharmacies in rural areas. We were one of the first entities to offer COVID-19 testing and vaccine access to the general public in rural Oklahoma, long before other governmental agencies did so. Remington Parks donated about $2.5 million to local nonprofits, and Lone Star Parks Charitable Foundation has awarded $1.2 million in grants across 20 plus organizations since 2001. So we have a proven history of not only giving to communities, but getting involved in those local communities. And we really do talk about that a lot, but we have that proven background to show that that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, and to from Saratoga Casino's perspective, and to piggyback on what Paul was saying, we truly believe that businesses that operate in a strong and thriving community have a much better success rate. It's that simple. To that end, Saratoga has developed a robust plan that partners with both public and private organizations in the community. In addition to the partnerships illustrated on the slide, I'd just like to talk about a few more. We partnered with Saratoga County and established the Saratoga Casino Hotel Foundation that has supported over 200 local not-for-profit organizations in the community with over $500,000 in grants since its formation 20 years ago. Saratoga Casino is home to over 900 youth soccer players who compete in the city of Saratoga Springs soccer programs on 10 soccer fields, all located on our property. The Making a Difference program recognizes and supports dozens of local organizations that each receive a $10,000 grant at our annual Giving Tuesday luncheon on the Tuesday following Thanksgiving. Project Lift Children and their that organizes local projects such as staffing and providing a picnic for Project Lift Children and their families at the end of the school year. Saratoga encourages hiring in the local community because it just makes sense. It's practical and it's smart. Saratoga is currently supporting a workforce housing project on our property that will be home to 192 families once the project gains all the necessary approvals and financing. Thanks.
So, I mean, Coney Island today, everybody sitting at this table knows Coney Island, right? We all have been there. My kids love it, right? We go to Luna Park, ride the rides, the Cyclone. My oldest daughter was old enough to ride the Cyclone this year for the first time, which is amazing. But Coney Island today, I mean, it has great assets and institutions, right? The aquarium, the Cyclone, Dino's Wonder Wheel, the stadium, Nathan's, right? It has a subway station that has 4 trains. There's only like 6 subway stations in this entire city that have 4 lines that end there. So Coney Island is a great place. I mean, and how do you create a project that changes it from a seasonal destination to a year-round activation that drives and uplifts all of those other great institutions that people can go to year-round, which would be an amazing new thing.
So hope you all hear me, I'm sure you can. But you can't talk about Coney Island without talking about the history of Coney Island. And this is, a history that we all talk about and we can look at in pictures. And Coney Island was once the ultimate destination for entertainment, and there was nothing else like it in the world. It was the original escape for working class New Yorkers. With amusement parks and beaches and the boardwalk, Coney Island was all about making fun accessible for everyone. At its peak, more than 1 million people would visit in a single day. And it set the bar for mass entertainment long before Times Square was ever even a thing. So whether it was horse racing or sideshows or games of chance, the spirit of risk and spectacle was woven into the fabric of Coney Island, and it's always been there. Next slide. So as you can see, Coney Island has left its mark everywhere, from movies and music and literature in the US and everywhere around the world. It's a symbol of fun and freedom, and it has a dreamlike kind of fantasy that's known worldwide for New York's character, but also for Brooklyn's character. So while the spirit of Coney Island has never really faded, Coney has definitely suffered from decades of disinvestment and hard times that it's been caused by a confluence of factors. I think the hardest part of helping Coney Island get back on its feet has certainly been that the main economic driver here is seasonal in nature. So this project is all about reviving that legacy and bringing new energy and turning nostalgia into real economic power for the next generation.
So continuing where Jody left off, the thing that excites me about this slide a lot is that, the Coney is the largest private investment in South Brooklyn's history. It's 100% financed and it's shovel ready, but it's so much more than just a casino. That's only, a portion of what this entertainment project is going to bring and reinvigorate that boardwalk and reactivate and connect some of those other things that Peter was talking about. But we have hotel, we have retail, we have restaurant development, we have public parks and recreation space where you can feel like you can bring families. This is not just going to be a place where people are going to come and game. We're going to give back over an acre of rooftop parkland that's returned to the community. And so this seamless integration into the neighborhood, a walk from the beach to the casino, to the aquarium, a ballpark, dinner, this is going to be a cohesive year-round economic engine for both locals and tourists. And the project's designed to amplify, not replace what Coney Island is special for.
So just to orient us a bit to the site, on the screen you'll see we're really centrally located within the Coney Island Entertainment District. You see Surf Avenue is in blue, and we're really at that intersection right in the heart of things. Stillwell is in orange. We have this great benefit of being directly adjacent to the subway Stillwell Avenue terminus. So you see that directly to the north. And the project will serve as a gateway from that subway station for access to the beach and to the Coney Island amusements. And you can see centrally located between the aquarium to the right and to the left is the stadium. So it's a fantastic position to serve as the gateway for this entertainment district. And as Paul was saying, to be an additive component to the offerings that are here. On the next slide, you'll see some of our circulation being proposed. We've worked really extensively with the DOT to minimize the impact on traffic and to allow for safe and clear pedestrian access. Vehicles will access the site for both parking and drop-off, as well as for services on West 12th and West 15th Street. There's a proposed bridge that it will allow for exiting parking traffic to go over Stillwell. So what that means is that Stillwell will be dedicated to pedestrian use and emergency access only. It really allows for that gateway and the extension of the pedestrianization from the beach to that subway stop. On the next slide, we're really embracing and extending the existing neighborhoods dynamic program. There are numerous retail and restaurant opportunities that will activate the street presence, right? So at street level, it's populated on all faces with that retail and food and beverage offering. Throughout the project, there are additional indoor opportunities for that year-round activation. Things like the convention space, an events venue, the gaming facility, 500 Key Hotel, and on-site offering 1,500 parking spaces to support that additional program. It's really meant to allow for that activation and the year-round presence that's so desperately needed. Next slide. FX Collaborative, as the architectural and design firm, is really rooted here in the city. We know New York City. We've worked on a wide range of projects from the Statue of Liberty Museum, the Bronx Zoo, Penn Station, and we're currently working on the Kingsbridge Armory, working on all different project types and different boroughs. And these are all really serving pivotal project needs. In each of these cases and in all of our projects, we start with context, the immediate context, the surrounding context, and understand what the projects each need uniquely. The development team that we've been working with over the years is really amplifying that approach, understanding the history of Coney Island, the current conditions, and then really looking towards the future of what Coney Island can be and what it needs. The next slide, part of our contextual integration you'll see in the design. In referencing the roller coasters and the storefronts at street level to really activate the pedestrian scale is what we're using to inspire our building massing and the structure and the facade. Gaining momentum on the architectural movement kind of as a thread through all of this and drawing on the motif from fluidity and the shimmer of the ocean, that's reflected in the skin of the building. And that plays very nicely with this mix of program that's both introverted and extroverted. Points of the facade allow for visibility and points allow for reflectivity. And that's a great backdrop for lighting display and the activation at night. The combination of all of this really culminates in a compelling contemporary design that's meant to embrace the spirit of spectacle and of invention. And this is all true to the character of Coney Island. The mission of the Coney as the gateway to the people's playground has a decidedly public ethos, and it delivers generous expanses of public access to open space. As mentioned, the project advances the Stillwell Walk with pedestrianizing it all the way to Surf Avenue. And there's additional rooftop spaces that are envisioned as a mix of both shared public and semi-public spaces throughout. The public space is really expanded at the street level with retail and restaurant opportunities that are really distributed throughout multiple levels of the project and culminate as a signature destination at the rooftop that's meant to be enjoyed for future generations of Coney Island.
In terms of the construction timeline, it's a 3-year construction project. The plan is to break ground shortly after assuming the license award in January of 26 and start foundations during the summer. This project's being delivered in one single phase. It's not multi-phase, so it would be a 3-year start to finish project.
When Robert talked to you earlier about the 500 stakeholder meetings we've had over the last 3 years, there was one common theme that came up in every meeting, and that was jobs. And again, we go back to the 17% unemployment rate in Coney Island, which is 4 times the national average. But I think what really resonated with the community and where they really were talking to us so much was it isn't enough just to get a job. It's about building a career. And I think that our project's going to offer that ability. You know, it's an unbelievable culmination of opportunities, because when you think about the casino itself, it's only 25% of our project, right? The other 75% is a hotel, a convention center, retail, restaurants, amusements. And so the opportunities of growing careers in many different sectors not only exist from the day we put the shovel in the ground and we start training through construction opportunities, right, and jobs, but also every specter, every area from retail to hotel to restaurants. You can start out as a waitress and grow up to be a manager. And I think that's what really means a lot to the community is walking into an opportunity that could lead to real career growth. We're planning to do that through a multiple ways. One's through hosting job fairs throughout the community, including the NYCHA housing, culinary operations and hospitality training programs. A formal local hiring preference is built into that plan with 9% permanent union jobs reserved for Coney Island residents. And apprenticeships and mentorships programs to foster, again, lifelong growth. Recruitment efforts throughout these partnerships in local colleges and high schools. We want it to happen here on the ground in Coney Island. And that's what we're most excited about.
Yeah, and as Melissa mentioned, right, it's about how do you get the talent from Brooklyn and Coney Island to work at this facility. And it's starting with those partnerships with high schools, colleges, and bringing them into the facility and then growing those careers long term. And we take pride in Paul and Sam as partners and legends. They all do this in terms of internal promotion, on-job training, and it's a diverse array of different types of career opportunities. Everything like Melissa said, from security guards to managers of F&B venues to the gaming operations, plus hotel jobs. So all of those come along, and there's a whole myriad of different types of employment for different people that have different career aspirations. I touched on this before, but one of the biggest things that we've heard continuously in Coney Island is how can you help NYCHA and provide opportunities specific to NYCHA, because a lot of people say that they are somehow thought of as left behind in certain situations. So how do you address those needs, right? And it only comes with intention, and like we have to take ideas, take feedback, work with local partners, go out and meet with the NYCHA resident leaders, right? And how do you kind of get opportunities and put them in front of people that want to come and work in the facility if they want to come and work? So doing that and creating those programs and partnerships is something that we strive to do, and we'll continue to try and do long term as the community sees fit and where they see opportunities and needs. One of the things that's pretty unique to our bid is a partnership that we formed between AECOM and Embrace Strategies. Embrace is a New York contractor that actually focuses on both construction, but they also have a bonding surety program arm where they go and they allow smaller subcontractors to gain bonding. They provide the training program for them to become bonded at a certain capacity that allows them to then compete for jobs. So our partnership with them, that training program would start day one when we start design, because it takes part of the cycle, as many of you guys probably know, is that smaller contractors can't compete for larger jobs because they don't have the bonding capacity, and they can't get the bonding capacity when jobs go out to bid because it's too late. So how do you start that early in the process? And we've thought about this obviously as part of the application, and we've included that as part of our submission. But doing that from day one, you win the award, you start design, so you give enough ample time that these contractors are bonded and ready to take those and get awarded those jobs by the time you're ready to start construction. So that's a big commitment that we've made. And we think is a great thing, not just for this project, but then it allows them to compete for other projects in New York long term as well. So we think that's a very unique component to this that we're very excited about.
And that brings us into the Coney Commitment Program. So diversity hiring is not just a goal, it's a commitment from us. The Chickasaw Nation operates the largest minority-owned casino in the world. And so with this program, we're going to have a local economic strategy that includes, the Chickasaw Nation's nationally recognized preferred vendor program. So we're going to have a program that is rooted in framework and backed by a legacy of impact. The program's designed to ensure that real opportunity flows through South Brooklyn. Residents, particularly NYCHA, minority-owned businesses, veterans, and other historically underrepresented groups. And a few of the key commitments that we're focused on here: local and diverse vendor prioritization. So a contracting strategy that elevates businesses and that are operated in South Brooklyn with targeted outreach to NWBE, to SDVOB vendors, a transparent and accessible procurement. So a public bid portal, streamlined 60-day onboarding process and quarterly reporting to ensure accountability and community visibility, and a workforce development integration where we have apprenticeships, job training, mentorships built into every vendor relationship with a focus on equipping local residents with practical skills and advancement opportunities. So, our goal with diversity-driven hiring and procurement is built into every RFP, a hiring plan with tracking mechanisms in place to measure and report on real outcomes and not just intentions. So this is how we turn a casino project into a community building platform and ensure that benefits are both immediate and enduring.
Yeah. So it's funny, I've been sitting here chomping at the bit, waiting for my turn to go, and my turn to go. So my colleagues have obviously demonstrated a passion and enthusiasm, and I would be remiss if I didn't meet that and exceed it. So I'm very passionate, obviously, about kids. Everybody knows Rob loves the kids. I have 7 of my own, and small businesses. So every small business I went into along the commercial thoroughfares in Coney Island had a resounding request: more customers. Quite simply, coming off the heels of the pandemic and off the heels of Sandy, so many businesses have been decimated based on those factors. And so, we had to think about what we were going to do to drive customers out of the entertainment venue and out of the hotels into the street, and we're going to do that through incentive programs. I think it's important to note that small businesses were and are a deep focus for us. The support that we've received is overwhelming, and it's deep, diverse, and a testament to the relationships we forged over our time in Coney Island. As part of our outreach, we wanted to ensure that we identified businesses and partners that met what we felt like our vision, mission, and commitment to the community were. That's how we wound up landing on New York Tech, which has one of the most robust hospitality programs in the state, Kingsborough Community College, which we sit in right now, and Liberation High School. And that's honestly just the beginning. We knew that those training programs on the ground in the community would lead directly to jobs and sustainability with jobs, right? Because there's attrition, there's all kinds of things that happen with jobs, but we were committed to making sure that it was sustainable. We've also signed agreements with Building Trades and Hotel Trades Council and Regional Alliance for Small Contractors to partner with on these programs. We've like I said, we've not only have we gone and heard, we've garnered a lot of support from small businesses. Once we explained how this could help their businesses, and once they articulated what their needs are, and we came to a meeting of the minds, it's been overwhelming the businesses who are looking forward to having an opportunity to have more customers, to sell more merchandise, to be able to sustain their business. We've also partnered with nonprofits like Brooklyn Org and a number of NYCHA tenant associations and local businesses like Abe Stark Arena and Brooklyn FC. We're building and have built what we believe to be long-lasting partnerships that will ultimately power the Coney going forward.
So we've listened to the community, like Robert was saying. We spent a lot of time, dating back 3 years, talking to different people, and we hear things like we need safer streets, don't erase what makes Coney Coney, public spaces feel neglected, and part of that, a part of our application, what you see in the response is a response to those specific questions, and informing that. Go to the next slide. Part of that, hearing those issues, bathrooms need work, boardwalk needs work. We came up with the idea early on in the process. Let's try and create something that's for the community, right? And give something directly back to the Coney residents. Don't make it a New York State tax or something that goes into city or state coffers, but kind of give something directly back to the local residents. So that was where the inception of this Coney Island Trust came up, to go and be locally led for projects that the community wants to do, right? Whether that's after school programs, if that's infrastructure improvements, if that's public safety enhancements, it's up to the community to decide what those dollars are used for. And it's part of a much broader investment in the project and in the neighborhood overall. In addition to the $200 million, our team has identified a $75 million need for EMS, police, and fire services directly in Coney Island. So that will be in addition to this 200 million that's dedicated just for those services. So think enhanced police presence on the boardwalk at peak times, all of those things that Coney Island desperately needs today to solve some of the things we heard early on in the process.
As a casino operator, responsible gaming is always at the forefront of our minds. From a presentation at orientation to refreshers for managers and supervisors, we believe responsible gaming training is where it all begins for our success and, more importantly, for the well-being of our patrons. Our security staff is trained to look for signs of guests needing help handling a gambling problem. We have a location off the gaming floor where guests can get information regarding our self-exclusion program and sit down with an understanding and knowledgeable security manager that can answer their questions and concerns. The priority and focus for us is the health and well-being of our patrons and local neighbors. Saratoga, since day one, has worked with and continues to consult closely with the New York Council on Problem Gaming and commits to incorporating all suggestions from the Council. The Coney project will incorporate a problem gaming resource center, a problem gaming training resources, and finally, a problem gambling assistance program.
Thank you. We all know that Coney Island is very vibrant in the summer. I think, again, we talk about it as being built for a year-round destination with 8 million annual visitors. Most importantly, too, as the convention center bringing, again, visitors to come for conferences and conventions all year long, will be very vibrant and, again, help us with economic revitalization in the area. All season activations for even events, concerts, and other venues that will go on all year long. And we really want to have a vibrant Coney Island, 365 days a year.
So as we think about how do you actually achieve that, it's really to create a destination that's not just for gamblers, but it's for the locals, it's for tourists, it's for everybody in the community. In order to do that, we'd have entertainment attractions, concerts. That would be in a 26,000 square foot facility, world-class restaurants. We have over 20 restaurants programmed in about 92,000 square feet of space. You heard about the convention center. It's about 116,000 square foot of space that would be capable of accommodating large groups, trade shows, bringing in people from outside the area who will spend money inside the community. All of those things are critical to creating that 365, impact of this destination.
And to follow up on what Bill was talking about with the convention center, we're planning a beautiful 500-key hotel to really elevate South Brooklyn. And in this hotel, so many amenities from a pool, fitness center, wellness spa, meeting event space, and premium guest services that seamlessly integrate with the broader resort district. So we're going to have union jobs. This will be fully staffed by union jobs, hundreds of good paying jobs in this. And it's going to drive that economic, robust development throughout the entire year. And to Robert's point, when he was talking about he's got 7 kids, I got 4 kids. I always think about where can I bring my kids? And when I go to some place like this, my kids are always wanting to come to work with me. They want to go where dad's going to be. This would be a place that I would love to bring them, because this is not just about gaming. They can go down, they can have a Nathan's hot dog, they can walk on the boardwalk, they can get in the ocean, they can go ride the Wonder Wheel. There's so many different things that can happen, all while mom and dad get a spa or hang out up on the pool deck or whatever that may be. I mean, this is so much more than a casino, and so many different ways that we want to activate this whole district and bring this to life for Coney. That will be a benefit to all its local residents, and we're super excited about the opportunities for it.
So Brooklyn is considered one of the premier food destinations in the world. And the Coney, thinking of the 50,000 square feet of restaurant space, 20 restaurants, will tap into that tradition with celebrity chefs, some of Brooklyn's finest, things like Tom's Diner, Park Asia will be incorporated into the complex.
So Coney will make it easier for drivers and subway multimodal transportation structure, and that will include continued advocacy for ferry service, course express, subway service, shuttle bus service from key hubs, incentives for employees and visitors to use public transportation, and vehicular and pedestrian mobility upgrades, including a new 100-foot wide pedestrian promenade along Stillwell Avenue, new traffic lane on West 12th Street within the site, and traffic attendants at key intersections. Addressing traffic concerns obviously is top priority. The transportation goal is reducing congestion and improving safety for visitors and residents alike. The project team includes my firm, ULN, formerly Sam Schwartz. We are meeting the New York City transportation experts with projects including travel demand management for major venues like Barclays Center. Specific strategies so far include roadway upgrades, including changes in signal timing, roadway geometry, pedestrian safety measures like wider crosswalks, and new signage. The incentives to reduce car use include free rides for subway, ferry, and bus riders, valet discounts for carpoolers, expansion of city bike stations, and more bike parking. And again, this is important, so repeating it, advocacy for ferry service and express subway service, which is more viable because of the increased ridership generated by the project.
All of these different components come together to make the Coney an economic anchor for South Brooklyn, creating over 10,000 jobs and infusing a tremendous amount of money into the economy and building a brighter economic future for the borough as a whole. And I think it's important to note, Brooklyn on its own from population standalone would be what, the fourth biggest city in the United States if you just took Brooklyn on its own. It's a statistic that I don't think you can overlook. And it isn't, like I said, it's not just about Coney Island. It's about a Brooklyn-wide renewal, connecting the rest of Brooklyn to Coney Island and all it has to offer. We believe in the Coney because, as we've said many times today, it really just makes sense. We want to thank you so much for the time you've given us.
I'd just like to say, I mean, in closing, like this is meant that we put forward what we think is a very robust and thoughtful application. But at the end of the day, we're here to discuss the project with you guys and hear your thoughts and feedback and go to the next step.
We're looking forward to more meetings.
All right, so I'll turn it over to the committee to any questions that anyone has. Do you want to start off?
I'm okay.
No, but I can tell you.
So I have some questions. Let's give the
for you.
senator part for sure.
I just have really two questions. What percentage of those 10,000 jobs did you say would go to Coney Island residents?
About 9%.
Yeah, 9%.
That was what our data showed as the need.
8.7.
It's about
For Coney only, but then wider to Brooklyn.
Okay, and you said the 75 million for additional police, EMS, fire. I'm assuming that's private, obviously, that private security
No, that would be given to the
given to the NYPD.
yes, and the mechanism. I mean, there's some details that have to be figured out of how that mechanism works. That the 6.0 gets it. We've had a number of conversations with them, and obviously they're on board with it, and they are supportive. But yeah, we will need to figure out how to dedicate that, and we look to you guys to help kind of create that mechanism.
Okay, and my last question, and I'll pass it along, is for the $200 million trust. You said that would be decided, projects would be decided by community leaders. How do you identify who those community leaders are? Who are the community leaders in that scenario?
Yeah, and I'll kick it over to Jody just for but we submitted in our application documents that kind of outline the trust, and we've identified seven leaders.
Yeah, so they're actual documents, they're legal documents. It's a corporation that is set up to create a trust, and it has set forth all elected officials as well as community leaders that can be identified. But all the elected officials are already listed to be on the trust chosen from day one, who can be part of the trust to direct where the money goes each year.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
I have some questions about the jobs that you're offering. Obviously this casino is going to have a lot of impacts on the Coney Island community. And in exchange for that, you're offering certain benefits, primarily jobs. So I was, surprised by the chart that you put online when it said 8.7% of the jobs are going to go to Coney Island residents. So if you actually do the math for that, that's only 182 full-time jobs. And as you were saying, the Coney Island unemployment rate is a really unacceptable 7.2%. If you add those jobs to that, that's only going to bring it down to 16.43%, a drop of 0.77%, not even 1 percentage point. You're telling us that this is going to be transformational for the Coney Island community, particularly for minorities in the Coney Island community. If we're not even lowering the unemployment rate by 1%, how is that going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, to start, I mean, obviously we're talking about projections here in terms of how hiring works in 5 years from now. We have our team on the market studies and everything else based on the demographics. That was the percentage that they thought would come directly from Coney Island. That number could be higher at the end of the day.
We hope it's higher.
That's not a number that we're
Well, right now, I mean, Long Island and Queens is getting more jobs than Coney Island.
It's purely based on demographic study of population in the area and where jobs come from. But there's definitely, I mean, we are very.
Our priority
Are
is
the
Coney Island.
demographics going to change in 3 years?
Listen, I can tell you this,
Those training programs will prepare people who may not be prepared currently.
Right. Well, in terms of training programs, so I looked at the Building and Trades Union Council, and their training program to become a construction worker is 3 years. So even if you started to train somebody now, they're not going to be eligible for any of these jobs until after this project is already completed. And in terms of your internship programs, you mentioned Liberation High School. I think there was only 5 or 10 internship positions. So how is that going to provide a pipeline of Coney Island residents to be employed in this?
We're open to ideas and how to do better and give more jobs to Coney Island. So if there's ways to do it, we're happy to.
Our commitment
entertain
is to Coney Island and Brooklyn, and I appreciate it. And I think that's great that you brought these things up, and we'll certainly take them into consideration. But just understand that we have no limit on jobs for local people. We're planning to recruit locally and hire locally.
Right. And you're presenting it to the community that you're going to bring these, 10,000, 20,000 jobs. And then, if it's only 182,
Well,
it
we're
seems a
going to
long
bring
way to go.
we're going to bring every job we can from Brooklyn and its local and the Coney Island community.
And just like, I mean, Kaylee, we thought a lot about this as a team, right? It's like, I mean, there are a lot of projects that say they're going to hire and but you have to be intentional about it. And you have to partner with local and electeds like yourself to come up with the programs to actually do it. And that's what we're looking to do. And we can't solve all the problems on our own, but we can look to partner with organizations that help us execute that vision.
But wouldn't that have been the time to do that?
Part of this
We're
process.
at the very beginning of this process. That's the beauty of it all. Every day we can continue to make it better and stronger. And through the process together with you all, we're hoping we'll be able to do that.
Thor Equities has been in Coney Island for 15 years, though.
But in a very different way, you can imagine. We've had a lot of triple net leases for a lot of tenants. Right.
And if I could just ask one other follow-up question on your commitment to diversity. I hear what you're saying, and that's very important, but I think it's important to also look at what you've already done previously. And Global Gaming Solutions in Oklahoma, I mean, it's great what you've done for the Chickasaw Nation, but from my understanding from your materials that you provided, from 2020 to 2022, your company only had, you had no Black employees in 2020 and 2021, and only 1 Black employee in 2022. 7.8% of the population of Oklahoma is Black. You only had 1 Latino employee, and 12.9% of the population of Oklahoma is Hispanic. Thor Equities, which is located in New York, from 2020 to 2022, you only had 1 Hispanic working, no Black executive senior level officials or managers, only 1 Hispanic. From 2020 to 2022, you had 1 Black first mid-level manager, and this is out of a total of 53 professional positions. And in New York City, the Black population is 22.7%, and the Hispanic population is 28.3%. So I'm just curious, as your commitment to minority hiring, how would that proceed with this project, given your past track record?
Well, I'd have to look at your notes. I'm not a certain, I don't have.
This came from your materials that you provided.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that. But again, we are committed to hiring diversified.
And I think the commitment is in the RFA, and whatever we committed to in the RFA is the commitment that we have to keep to.
I just think it's illustrative to look at past practices as well.
Any questions? Go
ahead.
Other questions from? I have two questions, if I may. One is on the private open space that's a part of the project. If you just talk about that relationship between the public and the private. And then the second question would be, could you speak to the relationship between any of the commitments that were made in the final EIS in terms of mitigating impacts from the project as it relates to the $200 million that are set aside? And are there any sort of overlaps in that area?
Let me take the first one. So the public space is kind of twofold, right? There's the public realm on Stillwell that's going to become a pedestrianized street that currently is open to traffic. So that's a great improvement that we think will benefit everybody walking down. It's going to be the gateway to the beach and the boardwalk, and really take what today is a double park cars and everything else and make it a really green, open, pedestrian friendly environment that can compare to any other great public space in New York City. The rooftop is private open space that's accessible from Wonder Wheel Way. You don't have to go through the casino to get up there, and it's an acre of open space. Those hours would be limited from an operation perspective. It's not gonna be 24/7, but it would be, just like other private public spaces in New York. So 7 to 10 and 7 to 11, whatever the hours are that are kind of ultimately decided, but that would be public space that's open, not accessible through the casino. There's no I'd like COVID or Jody take the EIS, but there's no correlation between the trust and any mitigation. That was earmarked as an investment that we thought would be a sizable investment for the community to do projects long-term. And then the
Especially with regard to the EIS, what exactly did like capital?
Yes, capital.
I don't think there were any capital that were mitigation from the EIS. They were all different.
Hello, everyone. I appreciate some of the upfront engagement that's been done with NYCHA that you mentioned, namely. In addition to that, have you engaged directly with New York City Transit and MTA to date? And I would like to know a little bit more about the nature of those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, so touching on the MTA, so I mean, obviously the subway service, I mean, they are tremendously excited about 20,000 visitors a day and the increased service that would provide to Coney Island. And it's not just for the project, but it would change commute times for residents of Coney Island that are commuting back out of Coney Island, because now the train service is more reliable. So they would be supportive, given the ridership of potentially.
They would be supportive, or they are supportive?
They would be, they haven't finalized anything because this project is still in its infancy, but they would be supportive of an express subway service, which we've talked about. And also we've talked generally with the EDC about ferry service and how do we kind of advocate for that ferry service to come to the ocean side, which is a huge other driver as the ferry today goes by to Rockaway, it skips over Coney Island. So how we kind of implement that, we're open to ideas and studying.
And have you advanced any modeling, traffic modeling to date? That what's the level of design that you have?
Yeah.
Design for what?
Traffic modeling.
Oh, we've done a lot of traffic modeling.
Okay.
And that was with the Department of City Planning and the Department of Transportation. And there has been we did detailed intersection level analyses at 40+ intersections in the area, very extensive data collection that really formed there. And plus there was some modeling done from the Department as well.
Thank you.
If I can, just for the transportation, so I wanted to ask about the trust, but since you brought up the transportation study, and again, this is your own transportation study that said that there will be significant adverse traffic impacts at multiple intersections and freeway segments throughout the area, with particularly severe impacts at key locations, including West 15th Street, Surf Avenue, Still Avenue, and that these intersections would experience deteriorated levels of service, with some lane groups operating at a level of service of E or F. Those are the lowest rankings. I looked that up. So level of service F means forced or breakdown flow. Every vehicle moves in lockstep with the vehicle in front of it. Frequent slowing is required. A road is in a constant traffic jam at this LOS. And your own environmental impact statement stated that there's going to be many intersections that will be operating at this level of service. And the only mitigation that I've seen you saying you're going to provide is 2 new traffic lights and some restriping, which I guess is painting more stripes on the street. Is that really going to be able to, 2 new traffic lights and some new stripes? Is that going to be able to handle what your own report says is going to be a complete breakdown in traffic?
So we're big that it's not technically language of EIS, but you're right.
Well, it says a road is in a constant traffic jam at this LOS.
The EIS discloses significant adverse traffic impacts. That's not very different from the baseline. It's called a no action scenario. So the project is not really, it's not resulting in a zoning change or added density. That density is the baseline density that has been mapped in Coney Island since the rezoning that DC undertook maybe 15 years back.
But the street doesn't currently operate at a level service. These intersections don't operate at level service staff currently.
Which build out based on what the zoning allows for, is it right? Is what is compared to, and that is not very different from that.
Right. So what you're comparing it to is what you can build now as of right, which is a 20-story hotel and some other large structures, not what's there now, but you're comparing it to what you could build now under the previous zoning before it was changed.
Environmental baseline for
Right.
analysis.
So, but that's not the conditions that currently exist.
Environmental review baseline for analysis is what can be done as a project, not what currently exists.
Okay. And can I ask you a question about the trust as well?
Sure.
So I did read through the trust document, and from my understanding, the sole member of the trust is TSG Coney Island Entertainment Holdco LLC, or the casino, and that the trust board of directors will be entirely appointed by the casino. Those that will be serving on the board will either be elected officials or the representatives, EDC officials, and only 2 from either the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, the Aquarium, or New York City Housing Authority tenants associations. So maybe there'll only be 1 member of NYCHA on this board. So there'll only maybe be 1 person of the community on this board. And you talk about NYCHA. NYCHA is a big part of Coney Island, but there's other people in Coney Island as well. There's a number of Mitchell Lama housing developments, which is what I live in. It's a limited income housing development. The homeowners there, these were homes that were built under the Nehemiah project, which was a project to provide low interest loans to people so that they could become homeowners. So nobody in Coney Island is rich. But you've only gone out to the NYCHA residents and you haven't spoken to anybody else.
Is there a rule for the trust? Is there a rule for how many board members?
No, I mean, so we spent the time in legal dollars to put together the documents that you see in front of you that were submitted, but we're open to ideas of how we should structure the board, 100%.
I assume the EDC membership, the electeds are probably.
We just put placeholders in there because that's what we.
So there's no mandatory.
I mean, we could set it up.
We're very open.
Yeah, we're open to ideas.
But right now, it's the casino who's going to control who sits on the board completely.
It have to be.
We are, the casino is the person who will have the control on what, right? And then from there, things can flow. But this is a conversation that can be ongoing.
Okay. And then in terms of what the trust is going to be funding, you've talked about boardwalk repairs and NYCHA repairs and all sorts of things for the community. And reading through the trust document, it's the very first thing it says is pursue development projects that will enhance the Coney Island community and provide foundational long-term sustainable growth. But the first thing it lists is a second parking garage for the Coney Island Entertainment District. And you have some renderings that you have released, which shows a structure that's built over the parking lot in the aquarium.
We don't own the.
So I'm curious if that's, but your trust document, the first thing it says it's going to pay for is a parking garage.
It could be, or other things.
It's just an idea that was thrown out there. It does not have to be, all those are just ideas. It could be anything. It does not have to be that.
I just thought it was interesting. It was the first thing that you listed, but it's not, it's in the legal trust document, but not in your promotional documents. In your promotional documents, again, you're talking about. Yeah, please.
I'm really sorry. Everything that is in the trust document, so that money has to be used for not-for-profit things. So it cannot be used for things that are economic development that's for profit, right? These are things that are for the community.
Why does it mention a parking garage then?
It has to be for the community. So it's for the community. It cannot be like for profit.
It's a parking garage for the community that you're
Yeah,
planning?
so a public parking.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
So
I don't-
like a parking garage that the city would run, right? That's a public parking garage.
Okay.
That is a not-for-profit thing. Parking garage. So it cannot be a for-profit thing.
And just in terms of what it would pay for, you're saying this is $200 million and again, storm resiliency, fixing the trains, all this kind of stuff. So, just so you know, there was a cost for the renovations of Coney Island houses and Unity Towers. They're estimated to be over $230 million for Coney Island houses and $83 million for Coney Island for Unity Towers. An Oceanside Ferry, there was a 2022 study. That's going to cost more than $200 million. In terms of fixing up the boardwalk, in 2021, Mayor de Blasio allocated $114.5 million to reconstruct just a portion of the boardwalk and a separate $11.5 million for immediate repairs to particularly deteriorated stretch. $300 million was spent on flood protection.
The trust.
So I'm just saying the $200 million doesn't seem like it's going to cover
No, 100%.
all
I mean,
the things
trust
that
is
you're
not-
saying it's going to
Well,
cover.
the trust was never meant to cover all of those things, right? And we can't solve all of Coney Island's problems in one trust fund document, right? The idea was created to create a fund that was given to Coney Island to enhance the residents of Coney Island, whether that be infrastructure or whether that be supporting after-school programs or programming on the beach or enhanced lifeguard access, right? The idea was to create this and have it be at the discretion of certain people that then could drive the funds to people. It was not, it was not set up to solve major.
So the 200 million is like seed money, right? What's the life cycle?
It's a 10-year commitment. There's a $10 million in the first 18 months that seeds the organization, and then it's paid, every year there's a $15 million payment that's made. And the intent is to create this and endow it so it's a long-term organization that's self-sustaining at the end of the day. And just in context of Coney Island, like a $15 million annual contribution is larger than, the Alliance annual budget's about, I think it's just over $1 million today. So just the projects that programs that it could go to enhance, it is meaningful at the end of the day.
Well, if it's going to go to a parking garage, it might
It's
not be that
no one's
meaningful.
ever,
Yeah. Senators. Just a quick question to that point, because I think one of you had mentioned the Oceanside Ferry, which
Yep.
to my understanding, there has been problems with because of the waves, what have you. This has come up a lot. So how, obviously the 200 million wouldn't cover that. That needs to be a much bigger project, partnered with government.
Yep.
But then how can the Coney be a partner in that? Because I feel like there's a lot of confusion in the community. It feels like some residents might think oh, if they come, then we can have a ferry. So I really how could you partner to be supportive of an Oceanside?
I think step
Ferry.
one is they need to do it. EDC needs to do a new real study for the Oceanside Ferry, which I think is in the works or has been in the works, but it hasn't been released yet. So understanding what that study says and needs, I think is step one. And then we can figure out how to further advocate for it and get it there because Coney Island needs it. And just going back to that study from years ago, it was based on, and it was ruled out, and the wave buffer came into conversation because of operational efficiency that was driven by the ferry operator at the time, I believe, where after a certain percentage, 90%, 88%, whatever the percentage was, it deemed it not a viable location. However, if you're just under that by 1 or 2%, it doesn't mean that it's not viable without the wave attenuator. It just means you're not going to have 100% ridership potentially.
There used to be a ferry there.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
think there's a
it's a
possibility.
great year.
I just think it's important to note that when we're talking about the potential benefits, I think
100%.
people really can get confused and feel like, oh, well, if if this is coming, we'll get a ferry or we'll get this.
Yeah.
So I just think it's really important that
Yeah.
we talk about that. We're mindful.
No, 100%. I think, part of the story, and I think, in reality, with additional visitors daily, organizations just start to pay more attention, right? I think that's a big thing that you're going to see with the MTA, EDC with the ferry service. That could be a benefit, obviously, long term.
And just so you know, historically.
I have a couple of questions. So first is on climate resiliency and emergency management. You mentioned earlier a little bit about enhancing the energy grid. Have you been in conversations with OEM or MOCJ? And thinking not just about sea level rise and wave action. I know you guys are accommodating some of that on site, but long-term for the entire peninsula, how this can be a facility or use for long-term emergency management, like post-Sandy situation. You describe that a
I
little
mean, you want to talk about the project a little bit specifically?
Sure, yeah, I think there have been a number of discussions about how the facility can be useful in those types of emergencies, and there's a range of different platforms, just as to get conversations going. Obviously, things like large event spaces where we know there are generators on site. Everything within the building at the street level will be above the DFE. So the building itself will be a place that you can have as a place that could be a refuge for the community. The performance venue is a very large open space, right? That's well above. It has access to outdoors for the rooftop. It will have generator service. So there are a number of pieces that lend themselves to community benefit. Even in the short term for convention spaces and educating the community about how to respond in these emergencies events, there's also platforms for that before an emergency so that people have the resources and understand how the communities can be used. So there's a lot of different ways that I think the facility can be of service in the community, both in an emergency event and just as a platform for communicating how to be responding in that way.
Yeah, and it's also just to keep in note, like obviously this is a large project, but it is actually, I mean, it's only 5 acres on 4 blocks in a much larger amusement district. I mean, we've looked at how you kind of mitigate flood risk for the entire amusement district, but that can't be done just in this smaller project that's only on 4 city blocks.
And on the kind of ground floor plane, question about kind of existing conditions, which we all love Coney Island today, Jones Walk, Bowery, Wonder Wheel Way. It's really fine grain amusements, small food and beverage, retail. You have bumper cars and shooting galleries and stuff. On the ground floor plane that you guys were showing, you do have a lot of small spaces, but it seems primarily retail. Can you talk about ensuring that there's a continuation of amusements and things that draw in a crowd, and maintaining some of those really, the hand-painted signs, the lights, the barkers, all of those types of things?
Yeah, I mean, you want to think how we just approach the ground floor plane?
Yeah, there's been a lot of flexibility and adaptation to the ground floor plane, which will continue to evolve, right? As the ongoing conversations with the local retail and restaurant establishments, those can evolve as those conversations continue. So things like allowing for both street presence and for indoor opportunities so that it is year-round activated, both have been studies. Something like, I'll call it a food hall, that allow for smaller presence indoor that give that year-round opportunity and still have street presence along Stillwell that's going to be pedestrianized, that it can spill out into this kind of plaza light in a very landscaped area. So there's a lot of flexibility within that. What's labeled right now as retail or restaurant could very easily shift as we're having conversations going on. It is meant to be a rich environment for allowing for the very small venue to the larger venue to give a mix of a lot of different opportunities for different vendors that are both local and supporting a longer term.
And just going back to, from day one, I mean, it was part of a larger strategy. Like it was very intentional not to have the casino on the ground floor for a number of different reasons, including pedestrian activation. Like you go to most casinos around the country and you go there and it sits there and there are no windows and it's blocked, and you go in the main entrance and people never come out. How do you make that? That wouldn't work in Coney Island, right? So how do you make this a pedestrian friendly environment that retains the street level activation, and the gaming is up on another floor? So that was very intentional in terms of how we planned this.
Sorry, just a quick question, because earlier before, I think one of the main concerns I hear about this is traffic. Coney Island already has a lot of traffic problems. I hear a lot about the pedestrian walkways. We talked a lot about, what the traffic patterns will be, in the site. But have you had conversations with DOT about on-site to Belt Parkway access? Because that's something I'm very concerned about. I think that that's been reflected to all of us.
Yeah, and I'll let COVID get into some more details, but I mean, like this really, for this to be successful and for Coney Island to be successful, it really needs to have a multimodal transit act, not to echo what we said earlier. Like the subway enhancements, right, and the frequency that the subway rides here is paramount to this project and Coney Island and the growth of it long term. So I can't say that, all of those traffic concerns are real, right? And there's definitely traffic and automobile traffic, but like solving the ferry, solving the subway are critical items in just creating the Coney Island of the future that people can go to. and COVID can talk about any more details on.
Yeah, first, I agree with what Peter said. You worked on transportation demand management projects for, for a wide range of facilities. And that's the way it works. Get people out of their cars, centralize transit, and, then get into as much detail as needed, not just on site, but, we've chased, those trips down to the stations of origin and including signage there to, help people get to the facility. So that is an important piece. DOT, we have spoken a lot with them through the environmental review process. They were very deeply involved. But as part of the environmental review process, their approach is more that of a stress test. You can't, the analysis did not bake in any credit for what might occur in the future, what efficiencies might be there. It was really a worst case scenario. It's called a reasonable worst case development scenario. And that's what got analyzed. So that was the context of the conversation with the DOT. I would go back to the EDC did a transportation study for Coney Island, I think around 10 years back or so. We prepared that study for them. And there were some recommendations to generally improve transportation access, vehicular access. And one of those, I think, is still applicable. All of those are, ferry was part of that study too. But Shell, right now, a lot of the vehicular access is concentrated on Cropsey, that comes down 17th. Shell Road is a partial access, and a recommendation back in the EDC transportation study was to make it a more of a full access by Parkman. That could go a long way in releasing what we see at Cropsey and 17th right now, or in the future with the project as well.
Yeah.
So,
I think this is something to really be aware of, because it's great to, to have increased subway ridership. It'll be great if we have a Coney Island ferry, which everybody wants. But the reality is this will be a tourist destination. So assuming that there's going to be people coming in from out of town, I mean, I represent both Brooklyn and Staten Island. So nobody on Staten Island is going to be taking a subway. We don't have one. So, there's people who are going to have cars who are going to be traveling here. So I think, connectivity, having like a tangible plan for connectivity to the Belt Parkway, alleviating that local road traffic is also.
We're also planning a number of shuttle buses as well. Like we'll be having regular shuttle buses from the major airports, shuttle buses coming from also Midtown Manhattan will be also part of that incorporated in. So, but we agree, we definitely want to keep that conversation going.
This is probably this and safety are the two biggest concerns from residents that I've heard.
Yeah.
So I can understand the investments, and I really try to keep an open mind and look at everything, but the traffic concerns are real and the safety concerns are real. I could see how you can address those safety concerns, and that's been brought to our attention. But depending on a ferry that I've been hearing about as long as I've been working in government, which is longer than you might think, and the increased subway ridership, it's hard, and it's going to be hard for the residents to accept that as a reality for their traffic.
No, we appreciate that. Thank you.
In handling the traffic, you're in your report, you say that on the weekday that you have a 1,500 car parking garage, but your environmental impact statement said there's going to be an additional 846 vehicles looking for a parking spot on weekdays and 912 vehicles on the weekend looking for a parking spot. You stated that there's ample satellite parking lots in the area, and you provided this map here. This lot over here, that's where the mayor 2 days ago had his press conference announcing they're building an apartment building there. There's currently an apartment building being constructed on that lot. This lot over here, there's plans to build shortly. They'll be building an apartment building on that lot. This lot over here, there's also plans to build apartment lots over here. This is actually the parking lot for the stadium, and they have plans to build apartments over there. The other lots that you mentioned, this one here, that's the Department of Motor Vehicles lot. So they use that. And that only leaves this one lot on 12th Street, which you actually mistakenly labeled as West 8th Street, but this is actually West 12th Street. So that's the same lot that everybody uses in the summer now. So how are you going to handle all this excess? You're saying almost 1,000 cars. And if the lots currently are going to have buildings on them, where are these 1,000 cars going to go?
Maybe I'll start. response. And, again,
You speak up a little.
sure, yeah, the travel demand management is important. Getting people out of the cars into transit, maximizing that is important. The numbers in the EIS, and again, because the graphic machine works from the EIS.
Yes, it was.
The numbers in the EIS, that is again, it's like a stress test. It's based on a worst case scenario, and it's a high number, but it's the number that got disclosed there. The EIS also disclosed a shortfall in parking. It doesn't say that there's ample parking in the area. It says there's a shortfall, and that's noted in the result of the parking analysis.
It says the surrounding neighborhoods hosts an abundance of satellite parking facilities that are open to the
Nonetheless, I can't remember the exact words, but
That's the exact words from your
conclusion
report.
is that there would be a parking shortfall. There's no ambiguity about that. That's how the parking analysis concludes.
Right.
And again, this is worse. It's based on a worst case scenario because that's how the amount of review analysis is prepared. And second,
I'm sorry, but your worst case scenario was relying on these parking lots that no longer exist, and now it's going to be an even worse case scenario.
That's to rental plots, which we did, but nonetheless, there would be a shortfall. I would not, but the important thing is to have a travel demand management strategy for this project. And every project of this magnitude in New York City, relies on something like that. There will be vehicular access. Senator pointed out, that's without question. But we need to maximize the number of people that can take transit to the site and get them on a subway, bus, or ferry. That's the boundary towards the future.
There are also things that we weren't allowed to count towards in that in your reasonable worst case, you're not allowed to count you're not allowed to take credit for certain things, such as, telling employees that they have to take public transportation, which they plan to do.
Incentivizing them to do it.
And incentivize them. So there are a lot of things that you have to include that you wouldn't otherwise have to include because it's a reasonable worst case development scenario. So it is a reasonable worst case development scenario in that way.
I do want to let our committee members know that we have under just 5 minutes left for the meeting. So does anybody have any further questions?
I want to just get an update. Is there an update on your 3 immediate neighbors would be the Wonder Wheel, the Cyclone, and Coney Island, USA?
Yep.
There are updates on, as last I checked, all 3 of those tenants were against the idea. Is there an update there?
I don't know if they're all against the idea. I mean, we're having continued conversations and we continue to have as many conversations as it takes to kind of make everyone aware of the pros and cons of the project. And we're happy to have any conversations to kind of explain.
We're continuing the
Are
conversation.
you actively speaking to
Yeah.
Coney Island, USA?
We are in active conversation. We've reached out to both Coney USA and the Wonder Wheel.
Just to be clear, Luna Park Amusement Park has a petition online against the casino that has over 20,000 people that signed it. So they're not supporting. The owners of the Wonder Wheel Amusement Park, the Buderis family, Dennis Buderis was quoted on television saying that amusement parks and casinos don't mix. It's like oil and water, and that the casino would be like a knife through his heart. I don't think that's supported. Coney Island, USA has a petition online against the casino that has over 11,000 people that have signed. I am a volunteer at the Coney Island Museum, which is part of Coney Island, USA. I know the people there, and you have not had meetings with them. And in terms of community, outreach, I know you've gone to a lot of NYCHA houses. I'm sorry, I just have to put this out there, but I live right across the street. There's been no outreach to Luna Park houses right across the street. There's been no outreach to Brightwater Towers right down the street. You've been a lot of outreach to places that are about a mile and a half away, but all the immediate businesses around the site are opposed. You have not had any conversations with the residents that live right around there. So just in terms of your approach to of getting community support for this project, what was your strategy of ignoring the people that live right across the street?
We've had a number of conversations and we can continue to have as many conversations
You've had
as
none
you
with
would.
us.
And we can have a conversation anytime.
So if there's not any further conversation, questions.
One last
Oh, sorry.
question. I was just interested about, it's probably a question directed to the Saratoga team, about your fundamental approach to O&M. and maintaining the actual facility in the event that you were granted the license, like thinking long term and about the reinvestment into the facility and infrastructure itself to maintain it. Of course, we're all against urban blight. So just want to understand a little bit more about your philosophy.
Sure, I'll answer it from Chickasaw Nation side and then let Sam talk from Saratoga, but I appreciate that question. We take a lot of great pride in really having a 5 to 10 year strategy looking forward from an operating maintenance standpoint. So it's very important to us because we think about that overall guest experience. We think about the reputation of the way the building looks, the surroundings, the safety of it. So we will definitely be prepared to put the amount of money in it that it's going to take from a capital investment to keep that level up that you see when it's first out there. So that will be tremendously important to us, not just from the customer standpoint, but from our employees that are working within the building. It's important to us that they have pride coming into their place, safety coming into their place. So that will be a very critical area that we will have a full department team that will be on our compendium to help us take care of that.
Thank you. Also remember, there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions of the applicant at the public hearing as well, and after this meeting. So with that being said, do we have any other?
Do we have anything else to do procedurally?
No.
Okay.
From an organizational perspective, we've handled everything we need to do today. So if everyone's good, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for being here, and community members, just try to stick around for me.